Strategically located in the center of Southeast Asia, Vietnam can connect investors and exporters to a market of 3.1 billion people within a radius of 3,500 kilometers. In recent years, 42% of the foreign investment into Vietnam took place in the north, attracted by massive investment in infrastructures in and around Hkbav, the third largest city of Vietnam. A cornerstone in the development of infrastructure in the north is the first new deep water port at La Quyen in Hkbav. The new Hkbav International Airport connects Hkbav with industrial hubs worldwide. A new highway connects the new industrial developments of Hkbav to Hanoi, the capital and also the second largest city in Vietnam. A new expressway connecting Haiphong City, Quang Ninh Province, and China will reduce trucking time to China to less than 3 hours. For over 20 years, at the very center of North Vietnam's infrastructure developments, deep-sea industrial zones have been continuously building and improving a synergy of prime industrial land and ready-built workshop warehouses for lease, integrated with reliable utilities provision and supporting services. Nearly 100 projects within the total investment capital of nearly $3.5 billion already realized the opportunities and are producing successfully in deep-sea industrial zones. Aiming to create a greener and more sustainable manufacturing environment for our tenants, deep-sea industrial zones are developing renewable energy from solar and wind. As such, develop Deep Sea as an eco-park. Deep Sea Industrial Zones, your reliable partner. Come and grow with us. For over 20 years, at the very center of North Vietnam's infrastructure developments, deep-sea industrial zones have been continuously building and improving a synergy of prime industrial land and ready-built workshop warehouses for lease, integrated with reliable utilities provision and supporting services. Strategically located in the center of Southeast Asia, Vietnam can connect investors and exporters to a market of 3.1 billion people within a radius of 3,500 kilometers. With steady economic growth, stable policies, highly attractive tax incentive, and competitive labor force, Vietnam has received a lot of attention as one of the most attractive investment locations in Southeast Asia, as well as an alternative to China. As a member of WTO and ASEAN, Vietnam is also participating in various free trade agreements such as EVFTA and CPTPP. These two new trade deals will facilitate Vietnam's easy access to the new market of 1 billion people. In recent years, 42% of the foreign investment into Vietnam took place in the north, attracted by massive investment in infrastructures in and around Haiphong, the third largest city of Vietnam. A cornerstone in the development of infrastructure in the north is the first new deep water port at La Quyen in Haiphong, which has been operational since 2018. With a draft of minus 14 meters, La Quyen Deep Sea Port, as a game changer for the region, will offer investors and exporters cost-efficient connection to the rest of the world. The new Hkbav International Airport connects Haiphong with industrial hubs worldwide. A new highway connects the new industrial developments of Haiphong to Hanoi, the capital and also the second largest city in Vietnam. A new expressway connecting Haiphong City, Quang Ninh Province, and China will reduce trucking time to China to less than 3 hours. Established in 1997 by Belgian company Rentaport and the local authority, Deep Sea Haiphong 1 Industrial Zone was the first project within Deep Sea Industrial Cluster. Over the years, seeing the potential of the region, Deep Sea's shareholders decided to develop another 4 industrial parks,
creating Deep Sea Cluster with over 3,000 hectares of industrial land for lease.
Tenants in the deep sea industrial zones are offered flexible solutions based on requirements ranging from leasing land
to build-to-suit solution.
Ready-build workshops and warehouses are available for small and medium enterprises, allowing quick entry to the market. Reliable utility services and highest quality are provided, meeting industry standards.
Power and water are distributed to each tenant via reliable underground system.
State-of-the-art and ISO-certified water treatment plant is available to handle factories' processed water. Additional services include production of steam, demineralized water, on-site pre-treatment of wastewater, and telecommunication, available on demand. Tenants in the petrochemical park have the privilege of direct access to the shared use of deep-sea liquids jetty. Investors in deep-sea Hkbav industrial zones are entitled to the best tax incentive package in Vietnam, applied only to economic zones. The investors are granted 15 years of corporate income tax exemption and reduction. Nearly 100 projects within the total investment capital of nearly $3.5 billion already realized the opportunities and are producing successfully in deep-sea industrial zones. Aiming to create a greener and more sustainable manufacturing environment for our tenants, deep-sea industrial zones are developing renewable energy from solar and wind. As such, develop Deep Sea as an eco-park. Deep Sea Industrial Zones, your reliable partner. Come and grow with us.
Good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to Vietnam's Industrial Landscape, your post-pandemic opportunity, organized and hosted by Hong Kong Business Association Vietnam and supported by Hong Kong Trade Development Council. This is our largest webinar to date, with about 250 people registered, and it shows great support from the region. I'm Winnie Lam. I'm the General Secretary of the Hong Kong Business Association Vietnam, and I'm the COO of Colliers International here also. I will take you through the program today, and I will be also moderating the panel discussion. I would like to start by thanking our sponsor, Deep Sea Industrial Zones, and their representative speaker, Mr. Koen Sonnens, General Sales and Managing Director. Other speakers, including Mr. David Jackson, CEO of Colliers International in Vietnam, Mr. Lim Cho Gi, General Director of Tricor Vietnam, and Ms. Dodi Lee, Customer Service Manager of Trade Development Council. It is my honor to be hosting you. Thank you. We have a record 21 national and regional organizations to co-host our event today, and it is evidence that its topic is hot. Allow me a minute to thank them. From the region, Hong Kong Australian Business Association, Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines, the Hong Kong Malaysia Business Association, Hong Kong Singapore Business Association, Japan Hong Kong Society National, Thai Hong Kong Trade Association, and in association with Myanmar Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce. We also have associations in Hong Kong and China, the Chinese General Chambers of Commerce, the Y Elites Association, the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, and another 10 associations in Vietnam, the BBGV, the CCIPV, the Central and Eastern European Chamber of Commerce Vietnam, Indian Business Chambers, Malaysia Business Chambers, Singapore Business Group, the Thai Business Association, Canadian Chamber of Commerce, Italian Chamber of Commerce, Australian Chamber of Commerce, and the Council of Taiwanese Chamber of Commerce in Vietnam. And I hope I haven't left anybody out. To quickly get to what it is today, we will have 3 short presentations preceding by a service introduction from the Hong Kong Trade Development Council. A panel discussion to follow. When you can raise questions throughout the webinar, please put your questions into the Q&A tab, as you will find on your control bar. For good housekeeping, the host will be muting all your microphones as well as videos so that you can focus. If you send in a questions and we cannot get to it during the seminar, we will be sending you a private answer a little bit later. If you're encountering any technical problems, kindly try to log out and log in again. And unfortunately, your internet bandwidth a lot of time dictates on what happens. And we hope that you'll have a smooth sailing throughout the program. Without further delay, let me quickly get Ms. Dodi Lee, Customer Service Manager of Hong Kong Trade Development Council, to kick off the event. Dodi is the Customer Service Manager at the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, who supervises the SME Center, providing comprehensive business support services to Hong Kong SMEs. The program that she is going to talk to you today about will support Hong Kong business even with the entry to Vietnam. The center is a one-stop shop to offer business contacts up-to-date business information on overseas market, including Vietnam, obviously, industry trends, and more. So without further delay, I'm handing over the control to Dodi. You may share your screen. Dodi, you may need to turn on your microphones. We cannot hear you yet.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you. Welcome,
All right,
Dodi.
good. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Winnie. And hello, everyone. So welcome to the event today. My name is Dodi, and I'm the Customer Service Manager of HKTDC SME Center. So first of all, I would like to thank the Hong Kong Business Association Vietnam to invite me to be the speaker. So today I'm here to share about our new program, T-Box. So, all right, so let's start on the T-Box. What is the letter T? So it means transformation of business, and it also means thinking out of the box. So HKTDC wants to support SME ecosystem with a service and to generate better results. The T-Box program helps Hong Kong SMEs to transform their business in the area of branding, e-commerce, manufacturing relocation, and new markets. So first of all, I would like to talk about branding. So we help you to create a unique brand and also establish a differentiated presence in the market. The T-Box program helps you to on the brand building, marketing strategy, and also IP, intellectual property. So for the e-commerce, we would like to ride, if you would like to ride on the big wave of the online business, so our staff will show you about the latest market trends, the payment system, and also the logistic. We'll also share with you the discount packages from our program partners to help you tap into the global e-commerce. So about manufacturing relocations. So in order to deal with the upcoming challenges, manufacturers are looking for less costly location to diversify risks and penetrate into new markets. So our business advisor, they are here to provide an overview of the manufacturing landscape and regulations, and also industrial parts so that you can make your relocation decisions. So for new markets, so we help local companies to tackle challenges and explore new markets. We provide market overviews, sales channels, relocation information, and for your business expansion overseas. Okay, so so how does it work? So our T-Box staff will work with you to identify your goals and provide support over the 3-month period with different advisory service, workshop, government funding information, market knowledge, and networking opportunities. So this is a free program that is free of charge, and it is open to all companies registered in Hong Kong. So about our advisory service, we have different professional institutions, chambers of commerce, business partners, government officials. They are all here to provide service for our T-Box members. So our staff will recommend suitable associations to provide basic advisory support according to your needs. So we will help you to solve your problems and capture potential business opportunities. So about capacity building workshops. So we have regular workshops that is organized by SME Center and also other TDC departments to cater for the needs of the TBOS members. So we also give you the opportunities to exchange views with the speakers on the subject that associate with your needs. About market information. So there are more than 3,000 online articles which you can find on the HKTDC Research and Hong Kong Means Business websites. You can find information about the industry and market trends, and our staff will also pick some articles for you that will help you to make the best use of HKTDC resources. About the funding schemes, Hong Kong government offers different kinds of funding schemes and supports to the local SMEs in order to facilitate their business development. So there are over 40 kinds of government fundings. They are available in Hong Kong for the SMEs. So that includes the BUD Fund, that is about branding, upgrading, and domestic sales. And also the EMF, that is Export Marketing Fund. And there's another one about technology, that is a TVP, that we call them Technology Voucher Program. So how does this 3-month program work? So first of all, we will help, please talk to our staff. So our staff will help you to set your business goal. And secondly, please join our events, our activities. So our staff will recommend different kind of different events and service to you according to your interests. So the third but not least, we will start achieving the goals together. So if you want to start, get started, please contact our staff and we will guide you through. So if you would like to know more about, know more information about our TBOS, please feel free to contact us. And you can also please scan this QR code to access the TBOS website. So this is the end of my sharing. And thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, just let me know, let us know. So I will pass the mic to Winnie now.
Thank you, Dodi. So I guess our audience, before coming to Vietnam, you may have to start your business in Hong Kong first, if you haven't yet. All right, coming up next, we're getting into the meat of the presentation of today. I have my dear colleague, Mr. David Jackson, standing by. He will give us a market overview and updates on the industrial sector in Vietnam. He is the Chief Executive Officer for Colliers International in Vietnam and Cambodia. He sets the strategic vision and goals for both operations. He is a Vietnam savvy in real estate and investment. He is a real estate professional and advisor relocated from the UK in 2007 and is currently the RICS representative in Vietnam also. So David, if you are ready, we can't wait to hear what's happening in Vietnam in the industrial sector. Over to you.
Hi, Winnie. Thanks very much for that introduction. And it's a pleasure to speak with you all today and be part of these discussions in terms of Vietnam's industrial landscape. I'm just going to share my video here for you. Hopefully you'll see that. So let me just click there. So basically, just to start off, just to give people a bit of an idea on the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. We have about 97 million people here from the last survey done by the government, which was a couple of years ago, which equates to about 15 million people in Ho Chi Minh City and 10 million people in Hanoi. About 70% of the population is under 35 years old. They have high literacy rates. It's a cost-effective workforce. We have rapid urbanization occurring. And increasing household expenditure. In fact, the World Bank said that Vietnam is rapid demographic and social change is happening right now. In fact, it's the second fastest growth of high net worth individuals in the world, only behind Bangladesh. Now, these are people who have about 5 to 30 million US dollars range. And the whole country is moving rapidly from an agricultural to light industrial economy. And people can own land here for a period of time from the government, around 50 years. And basically, Vietnam is split into three industrial zones. Quite simply, one zone in the north, one in the middle, and one in the south. And it equates in total, in the north, there's about 18,000 hectares, and in the south, about 44,000 hectares. So most of the focus previously has been in the south and development in the south, but now obviously, which I'll get on to later, growth around China and trade and issues from that, the government is very much focused in the north, as I'm sure Mr. Cohen from Deep Sea will talk about later. So what's been happening recently? Well, in terms of the trade and trade wars, progressive agreements, the Trans-Pacific Partnership or the European Union Free Trade Agreement, basically it has increased investors' confidence in the economic performance of Vietnam. We've seen, due to a highly, like I said, low labor cost, affordable land prices, good income tax rates, a dynamic and literate workforce, and geographic location have meant, along with the trade issues around the world and the location of Vietnam close to China, have meant that a lot of big businesses like Google, Panasonic, Sharp have decided to relocate into Vietnam and spend a lot of money on their setup in Vietnam. Which means, unfortunately, one of the issues is that there's, at the moment, very limited supply. So it has slowly increased rental and land rates over the short-term period, and occupancy rates are very high at the moment, with lots of plans of more developments coming in the future. But it's basically like every market segment in Vietnam, it's under high demand, but there's limited supply. So what are the trends? Well, we can see that due to the age range and the fact that they're very computer literate, e-commerce is massively on the rise here. There are lots of people that have their own individual businesses and use Tiki, Lazada, Shopee, all these things to develop and deliver their products. We can also see that the trade war have meant that people are relocating offices, they're relocating businesses in terms of how to work in Vietnam and get a hold of these 97 million people that are using their products and buying their products. Logistics providers are pushing more and more for land that are close to their customer base, within 25 kilometers of the city, and the government is encouraging M&A acquisitions to encourage investment and welcoming investment. You can see this in the fact we now have McDonald's and Starbucks in Vietnam that would be unheard of 10 to 15 years ago. So COVID, what happened with COVID? So yes, we know that Vietnam is an attractive place. Quite frankly, Vietnam's performance around the world has been amazing. Very limited at the moment to date. The virus is being controlled. People are looking at Vietnam that's next to China, that has experience with bird flu in the past and other pandemics, have really controlled the situation and become the shining light. They have better economic outcomes, better health outcomes from that. And really it means that people are really looking at Vietnam as if it's part of the future. You can see this in the Asia Development Bank that says their prediction for gross development product growth rate in Southeast Asia. Vietnam is still ahead of the list compared to the other countries at 4.8% for 2020. And going back to normal pre-COVID rates of about sort of 6 to 7% predicted in the next couple of years. So there is a positivity about Vietnam. They're happy with the government, the stable government and control, and they're really looking at it as a place to invest in. So with COVID, and because the industrial landscape is of limited supply, it does look like the land prices will go up in value. The leasing prices for the premises will go up in value because the demand still outweighs the supply. Because of price and because of labor, because of the trade relations, there will be a movement, as I mentioned earlier, from the south of Vietnam into the industrial parks in the north. Also, to be involved in the One Belt, One Road, also to be near China. And there are better products on the market now. As we will mention deep sea later on, more environmentally friendly, more planning, better leases in terms of the way that tenants are engaged with the industrial parks, and better incentives, more international agreements and contracts. So China plus one, Vietnam is the one. If many newspapers and from the Financial Times to the New York Times have decided where they want to diversify because of labor costs, infrastructure, stable country, good market size and major customers nearby, and especially after the way they controlled COVID, Vietnam is standing out in the region and definitely one to look out for. These are the links here, if anyone wants to share these afterwards, where you can read all this positive news around the world in terms of why invest in Vietnam and why look at the way that Vietnam is growing and its workforce. And what are the opportunities? Well, the opportunities are quite simply a great customer base, a smart workforce. Land is actually relatively cheap at the moment, or cost effective, though this I suspect will change in the future. There are, for lots of good consultants here that have been here a while, countries like Japan and Korea that are actively promoting for investment externally into Southeast Asian countries. With the trade wars happening, there is probably no better place to be than on China's borders. Because of the geographical location and size of Vietnam, there is also a benefit of being located next to deep water ports, better infrastructure that's happening in the future, and having better contracts. So in conclusion, on a very extremely positive note, you know, Vietnam is really the place to be. I think it's demonstrated this in the way it's handled the COVID situation. I think if you get in now, have some good consulting, have some good legal advice, because the landscape in Vietnam can be a little tricky. But other than that, the opportunities are there for growth. You're right next to the customers, and I'm extremely positive about the whole environment in Vietnam. Thanks very much for listening. I know I'm really positive, but I do believe in this country. I do believe in where we're going. And I'm open to any questions either later or online. Thanks very much for listening.
Thank you, David, and thanks for the background, which is very important to our leading up presentations. I don't think I want to be anywhere else but Vietnam for the time being, for sure. So let's move on to the next one. With all that's happening in Vietnam, we want to see what is on offer. We're very lucky to have Mr. Koen Sonnens, General Sales and Marketing Director of our sponsor today, Deep Sea Industrial Zones in Vietnam. He will walk us through the opportunities mainly in the north, a new giant and the new industrial park offering. Deep Sea is a leading industrial developer located in Haiphong and Quảng Ninh. Koen has been involved with all aspects of international business to business and business to government, the development of domestic and international sales channel, and the formation of strategic alliances for more than 25 years, covering 54 countries, a true citizen of the world. I can't wait to see what Deep Sea has on offer. So Koen, over to you. Kun, you ready?
No, we have a technical issue.
All right, you can talk us through the technical issue.
Yeah, well, the technical issue is that I don't know how to solve it, but we are working very hard like we normally do in the northern part of Vietnam. So we should be there anytime, but for the time being, yeah, that looks better, isn't it? All right. Are you okay?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go
All
ahead.
right. Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, thank you, Winnie, for the introduction, and thank you, David, for the very positive notes on Vietnam. And actually, I will add a few more positive notes, and specifically on the northern part of Vietnam, with you know, those two economic powerhouses, Haiphong and Quang Ninh. And I will also briefly touch the opportunities for international investors and manufacturers. Haiphong City, well known as one of the gateways to North Vietnam and into south of China, is still one of the fastest growing cities in Vietnam. Last year, GDP growth was a staggering 17% or almost 17%, which is more than double than the national or Vietnamese average. Within 30 kilometers traveling, we can reach, or manufacturers can reach, up to 6 million people. And the total FDI investment capital so far is near 20 billion US dollars, which is the equivalent of more than 700 projects. When we make a quick but also a short jump to Quang Ninh province, it was all over the news in the last couple of days and weeks. It still ranks #1 on the PCI index. So we'll come back to that in a few slides. The GDP growth rates also higher than the national average, and very important for companies who want to move into Quang Ninh. There is this huge potential of labor force in the surrounding areas. Now, what is very nice for companies who want to settle down in this part of Vietnam is obviously the proximity of China. The trucking distance from, let's say, Haiphong Quang Ninh area all the way to Shenzhen or Dongguan industrial zone is around 12, maybe maximum 15 hours. So the world literally gets smaller every day. Quang Ninh has all what it takes to become probably the next exciting industrial hub in Vietnam, and specifically in the northern part of Vietnam. Like I said, it's leading the PCI index already since a couple of years. And basically this index is designed to assess and to rank the performances and the capacities of the provincial governments to develop a business-friendly environment. So Quang Ninh has the right to say it's probably most of the friendly business provinces inside Vietnam. Foreign investors, people from overseas who want to come to Vietnam, David touched already why it's a good idea. Overall, you know, those companies, they look into opportunities, and we talk about the location, Vietnam being part of many international trade agreements. Vietnam is also known for its stable political and social climate. But in my presentation, I would like to briefly touch on 3 other aspects that are very important: the availability of the infrastructure, the tax packages, and obviously the availability of land. First, a note on the logistics cost in Vietnam. I don't think it's a secret for us that the logistics cost in Vietnam is still quite high. There are different kinds of transport modes available, but what is still lacking is the interconnection between those transport nodes. As a result, shipping a container from, let's say, Shanghai to Haiphong is as cheap or as expensive, depends how you look at it, as shipping that same container inland Vietnam from Haiphong port, for instance, to Hanoi. Now, Haiphong and Quang Ninh over the years, actually over the recent years, have invested a lot of money in setting up new infrastructure, in removing existing bottlenecks, not only in road transport, but also in railway transport, sea transport, and airports. This is just a brief overview of the most important infrastructure developments since 2015. With, like mentioned in the video, the Hanoi-Haiphong Expressway. We have the Coastal Expressway, but there are also the important airports of Van Don in Quang Ninh and Hkbav in Haiphong. And obviously, and this will be my next slide, there is this huge deep sea port called the Haiphong International Container Port in Haiphong, which is the new gateway to Vietnam in the north. It's a huge, massive investment, but it's a game changer for the whole industry. What are the consequences of this enormous infrastructure investment? Well, if you look at the international shipping routes leaving or coming to Haiphong before Lac Nguyen or the international container port was operational, for instance, bringing a container from Haiphong to the west coast of the US previously took almost 1 month. With the new investments, that can be shortened to maximum maybe 3 weeks. So shorter transit times, meaning cost reduction and obviously reduced risks as well. On top of this, there is still a program, an investment program ready to further invest in new infrastructure, mainly to improve the connectivity of the Haiphong province with other provinces. And it's worthwhile mentioning that these funds basically are generated locally. So Haiphong does not have to rely on funds from the federal government to just improve its infrastructure. It's also noticeable that the airports are becoming more bigger, more attractive, both the one in Haiphong, but also the Van Don Airport in the Quang Ninh province. And of course, we cannot have a discussion with foreign investors without tackling the very short word, 3 letters only, tax. In Haiphong, for a couple of years, we have the economic zone tax package, which is the most favorable tax system overall in Vietnam. And in small notes on that slide, you can see that we expect this to be applied in Quang Ninh in 2022. Well, I have some great news because yesterday it was announced that probably in just a couple of months, so still in 2020, also some industrial zones in Quang Ninh who can offer this economic zone tax package to their investors. Land supply, it was mentioned by David as well. In some areas, there's indeed a shortage of lands. Luckily, in the areas I'm talking about, Haiphong and Quang Ninh, there is still land available. And that's extremely important, not only in terms of the price, but also in terms of companies who want to come and invest quite fast. So Deep Sea is among the industrial parks who has the largest land bank available. We have around 3,400 hectares of land, equally divided over Haiphong and Quang Ninh. And we are able to move and to develop these land banks quite fast and in a very sustainable and efficient way. Not only land for large plants, we are also ready to receive people who are looking for warehouses so that they can quickly enter and start marketing their products into Vietnam. We try to do this in the most sustainable way possible by offering renewable energy and energy that is provided, for instance, by solar or by wind. And at the same time, we also have a water or a wastewater treatment plant. And finally, we are investing quite a lot of resources into the development of an eco park, because ultimately Deep Sea wants to be the most sustainable industrial park developer in Vietnam. I think I stayed well within my 8 minutes time slots. Thank you all for your attention, and I'm looking forward to your next questions or your upcoming questions.
Thank you, Kun. I think for a lot of us who has never been to a big city development may not know that Vietnam is actually quite advanced in many ways. And I think this is a good thing to see it with their eyes. Now we're just short on having coming into the country. So to bring it to the next. All right. All right. Now that we have the market is ready, the venue is available. Now we finally have to set up in Vietnam. And how are we going to do that? Nim Cho Gi of Tricore Group will help you plan your relocation or starting up of your Vietnam operation. He will touch on taxation, custom duties, investment regulations, supply chain, relocation, all of those. Lim has been the General Director of Tricore Vietnam after merging his legacy professional service practice with Tricore Group in 2014 here. With more than 24 years of business and corporate experience and based in Vietnam since 2007, he has supported many foreign clients in entering the Vietnam market. So Lim, if you're ready, we will come over to you to see how we're going to set it up.
Thanks, Winnie. Thank you so much for the generous introduction. Yeah, and hi everyone. I'm sure we are all very keen now to come to Vietnam and inspect the industrial property and kickstart the operation almost immediately. Yeah, Vietnam is very, very exciting. Yeah, and for those who are not aware yet, yeah, we are here more of business as usual, more like post-COVID situation, right? The market is warmly open for investors, and for us in Tricore, we have been receiving quite a lot of inquiries in the past 2 months, despite COVID and despite having the situation relating to the trade war, relating to the COVID situation affecting supply chain in China. Vietnam, maybe in spite or despite of those difficulties, are still growing. And my team and I have been jumping on the bandwagon. If you're looking at the Vietnam as a whole, the industrialization started off with a lot of focus on the south. But in the last 2 years, a lot of investors are now coming to the north. And I'm sure you are now excited with David and Kun talking about the northern region, which are very close to the supply chain in China. So let me run through with you for the next 8 minutes that I have. The 8 minutes will be running through slides that I normally use half a day in Hong Kong, in person, to talk to potential investors coming to Vietnam. In the coming slides that you are going to see now, you realize that number one, Vietnam has a fairly systematic and high level of clarity in terms of the investment regulation. You also see a high level of support that is being provided by professional firms, by the industrial park, and also by the government departments supporting investors coming to Vietnam. So let me start with the matters that you need to look at when deciding upon an investment in Vietnam. And I'm in particular looking at the manufacturing activities. Yeah. So on this slide, you can see the first on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, determining the form of investment project in manufacturing. And in particular, we are referring to whether you want to have an economic, the export processing enterprise or non-export processing enterprise. And then that would affect very much on the taxation and also the import duties and customs. Yeah. Now, upon determining the forms, you'll be then later looking at the industrial park. There are many, many locations in Vietnam. Some investors are not so sophisticated in terms of looking at the industrialization of Vietnam, and they consider Vietnam as still quite what we call developing. Yeah. But if you have seen Deep Sea in particular, there are many industrial parks in Vietnam are now very, very new and shiny. We even have the solar energy. And if you are hearing from some of the industrial park, the sufficiency of renewable energy in the industrial park itself is something quite amazing, even if you compare to the likes of industrial parks in, let's say, Indonesia or Malaysia or even in China. Now, after looking at the location, yeah, we can support here with Tricore support and also working together with the Industrial Parks Management Committee The third box on the left here is about getting the required licenses. And I wouldn't spend too much time on this, but suffice to say, you need to get the investment license and also the company license in order to set up the manufacturing operation. And from there, you'll be able to open bank accounts and get the relevant tax registration done. Yeah. So it's very clear, yeah, from this picture that all of these activities, as a consultant, we can even put it down very clearly, step by step, item by item. So for investors who are still dubious about whether Vietnam has a stable investment environment and regulation, I would say we are developed very far from the days when I started in Vietnam more than 10 years ago. Those days, regulation were patchy and they were not clear. Now we can even write down in front of you with a PowerPoint step by step on how to start business and manage the business in Vietnam. So the next slide that I have here is about the EPE, export processing, and the non-EPE. There are a lot of details here, but what I'd like to share with you is that there will be a very big impact in terms of the cash flow relating to import duty and VAT. Whether one chooses the EPE status or not would have a big impact on the cash flow on the VAT, which is 10% in Vietnam generally, and also on the import duty. For an EPE enterprise, you would not need to pay the import duty and VAT upon importing the machineries. When you set up the factory in Vietnam, those items are not charged, are not payable. Therefore, there's a significant cash flow advantage if you are in an EPE type of environment. Yeah. Now, so I will not go further, but for those who would like to touch base with me later, there are a lot of areas relating to EPE that we need to be very careful on, because this is still quite a new area of development in Vietnam, and the tax regime, while it's very favorable, as Kun has mentioned earlier about the CIT incentive, it's very, very favorable. The VAT and the import duty components need to be managed very, very carefully, especially when you are talking about sizable capital expenditure on the factory and also the equipment coming in. Yeah. Now, the next slide I have, perhaps this is a bit of a duplicate. Yeah? We have already seen this in Kun's slide. Now, the CIT incentive, for most of us who are familiar with factories in China, the tax incentive in Vietnam in some ways follows the fashion of what we call the 4 exam and 9 4 免9减半, that means 4 exam 9 half incentives. Yeah. So for those who are familiar with China, Vietnam have similar incentive. The good thing is that if you are looking at relocation of your factory or expanding of your factory from China to Vietnam, the investment environment, the tax regulation, issues relating to import duties are something that you would probably be very, very familiar with already. Now, before going further into CIT incentive or exemption, it's good to understand which location you want to put your factory in, because these incentives are very much locations and specific, and also sector specific. Yes, sector specific, and also in terms of scale and performance specific. So please talk to the consultants and talk also to the industrial park on what sort of incentive they provide you when you come to Vietnam. The next slide is just to show you the sophistication of Vietnam in terms of the investment regulation, in terms of governance, in terms of accounting and tax. I can already list down for you all these detailed items on what needs to be done upon setting up your company in Vietnam. Now, we are in Vietnam, we are not like some countries which are still in the developmental stage for the government regulation. Over here, the regulations are very clear, the laws are there, the guidelines for the laws are there, and we are all moving into electronic government. Now, most of us will be even surprised, yeah, to understand that for tax filing, we are paperless now. Yeah, during COVID, yeah, my whole team do not actually have to come to the office. Of course, there's a work from home arrangement. The whole team can manage the compliance for our investors, foreign investors, without them needing to come to Vietnam and without us needing to come to the office to process paperwork and submit those paperwork to the government offices, because most of them, taxation, social insurance, personal income tax, are all done online. And we are probably one of the first few countries in the region to also implement the electronic tax invoice. It's very, very, I would say, it's fairly advanced compared to our regional peers in Southeast Asia. And then next slide is a fairly important slide when we look at transfer pricing. Yeah, Vietnam has implemented transfer pricing for some years now. Now, for those who are in manufacturing, CIT incentive is taken for granted. VAT and import duty can be planned due to having a EPE status, and also there's a procedure for refund and credit. Transfer pricing is something that you have to be very careful on, because Vietnam has started this for some years, and there are a lot of detailed regulation, sophisticated regulation relating to transfer pricing. So this slide, I will not go through the detail, but please take a close look. Yeah, after this workshop webinar, I'm very sure some of this slides will be shared with you. So please reach back to us, to my consultants, if you need to understand the requirement further for transfer pricing. And the last slide, yeah, it's not for me to go through in detail, but I like to highlight to you, there are a lot of cases and scenarios that we are very familiar already when we service the manufacturing clients. And this case, you note that it's a case number 3. In fact, we have like more than 10 cases where different arrangement relating to manufacturing, whether manufacturing based in OEM manufacturer, or manufacturer that manufacture and supply to their subcontractor, and from there export out from Vietnam. A lot of such cases, the tax impact, yeah, including VAT, import duty impact, are also being addressed already. So what I like to say here is that we are pretty developed in terms of the regulation and the clarity of the regulation. And for those who are coming in now, it is not just an issue of language. It's not just an issue of having an interpreter when you come to Vietnam. It's a matter of having professional consultants who will be able to guide you along, and working hand in hand with the industrial park, with the local government, which are highly promoting the investment into Vietnam, to make sure you have a smooth entry into Vietnam and have high level of clarity in terms of tax treatment, VAT, and also custom duties. Yeah. Now, so I think I have spent the 8 minutes with you, and we'll have a moderated sharing session later. So I'll look forward to hear any questions that you may have. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Lim. I think I have never had a more disciplined panel than today, that everybody is keeping to the time being assigned. So let's move into the Q&A session. We have quite a few interesting questions here, in which I'm going to do a little bit of a mix and match for our panelists. So if we can get all our panelists to log in and show the face. Yeah, I hear you guys. All right. Well, thank you for staying alert and awake with me. I have some comments as well as questions received from the audience. One thing has been mentioned is that, well, usually businesses plan ahead. COVID just kind of happened. And it will be not very responsible to be saying that there's like business are now moving into Vietnam because of COVID. But I am sure from each of your perspective, from Lim, Kuhn, and David, that you are seeing different companies coming into Vietnam for different reasons. And as much as we have been booming all along, are you seeing any changes, or what is dominating in terms of inquiries to your business? If I would start with David from an agency perspective, and then I'll move to Kuhn, the developer, and I'll see if Lim has a different view for that. David?
Lovely, thanks, Winnie. Very interesting question. I guess from brokerage, what we've seen is, I think with COVID, a lot of businesses kind of, whether they wanted to or not, have slowed down. A lot of people have looked at their direction, their focus, their future, and now people are ready to action that. And so over the last month or so, we've seen an increase in inquiries from a whole range of businesses. I guess at Colliers, we are the conduit between local knowledge and international clients. So from my side, I see a lot of international clients. I see a lot of Chinese companies looking at their compliance, looking at potential trade wars and relocating, especially in the north. Maybe Cohen can touch on that later. We see a lot of because of I guess, slowdown in economies. A lot of companies, Japanese companies, Korean companies that have had the remit to invest overseas. And I think people can see, as I discussed, the benefits of the land price, the benefit of increased information and technology in Vietnam to explain the story overseas and make decisions. So for us, yeah, I think it's a good adjustment time. The whole world needs to adjust, and people are really looking at being close to their market base, maybe having a secondary unit for compliance in case of any economic troubles. And Vietnam's well placed with that with trade wars. So I think, yeah, I definitely think it's had an impact. We have definitely at Colliers, we're progressing quite a lot in our transactions. We're people are more willing to expedite the contracts and the deals that they're doing in order to take advantage and speed up on their business. So yeah, we've seen lots of changes in it, and from where I stand, it's all positive.
All right, David. Kuhn, how about deep sea directly? What are you seeing right now with the market movement?
Well, honestly, despite this pandemic or COVID-19 situation, we still see a steady growth in number of inquiries, and this already since 3-4 years. There is obviously a growing interest from companies of different nationalities that want to move out of China. I don't think I'm telling you anything new here. In terms of industries, we mainly see quite a number of electronics or companies in the electronics business approaching us. Same for the automotive, petrochemicals. What makes it maybe different compared to a couple of years ago is that they want to move fast. It's like, they are rushed to really kick off in another place. And I'm not saying that it makes all the negotiations much easier, but time is an issue, probably more an issue than it was a couple of years ago.
All right. So Lim, on your end, is it mirroring what David and Kuhn is saying? It's like your business booming, right?
Yeah, we are quite specialized in providing support to manufacturers, and despite of COVID, we still see this sector growing very fast. Yeah, we have been singing all along trade war, and now we are singing supply chain relocation because of COVID-19. We definitely see a big move. There's some qualitative differences in terms of the types of industries coming here, though. Over the last 10 years, we have been seeing a lot of those low-end, like footwear, clothing type of factories coming in, especially the more established region in the south. But the recent 2-3 years, what we are seeing are the electronics, the telecommunication related or equipment type of companies, or even the gadgetries for the IoT, Internet of Things. And this, I think, shows that Vietnam has now moved into the next stage of industrialization, from low-cost footwear, garments to electronics. Yeah, and I see this is a very much welcome move because it will add value to the industrialization, add value to the workers, and we do even see workers who are becoming from blue collar, becoming a blue, white collar, higher level of technician, operating CNC machines and all those things. So I think those are all very much welcome. Yeah.
Well, it's good to see that the demand from all three sides substantiate that it is not just because of sentiment of that is post-COVID, people needs to go, and then Vietnam is positioning to win. We're actually kind of winning, right? So now the international border is still closed. Vietnam being very administrative heavy on the ground, everything has to be executed on the ground. So now that they can't come, things still needs to happen. What is happening? So for Lim, in terms of government procedures, David, how are we showing client sites? And Kuhn, have you been entertaining any visit at all? Should we start with Kuhn for this one?
Yeah, you can start with me if you want some entertainment. But yeah, overall, it's been very unfortunate that we were not able, first of all, to see potential customers in our industrial zones, because you can imagine when people invest, they want to see the place where they are going to invest. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but we stay in contact. through whatever means we have. And I assume once the borders will open again, and this could happen any week now, any months now, I guess, I hope to have a long queue of people waiting in front of our office door, and we can finally take them around to the places where they want to invest. But honestly, we have probably been doing too many webinars, and I'm really looking forward to attend some seminars, if you don't mind.
All right, good. We'll take note and see what we can do next. Lim, what are you advising your customers? It's like they can't submit their papers, or they can submit their papers. What is happening?
Some customers are saying they are getting webinar fatigue, attending far too many webinars like what Kun has mentioned. They have enough information, they have downloaded, they have listened to enough webinars. They're now waiting for action. They want to come to Vietnam, inspect the factories like what Kun mentioned. Now, paperwork-wise, Vietnamese government has progressed very, very fast. Yeah, from the bundles of papers or killing many trees that we've seen just in the last 5-6 years. Now, most of the government offices, especially in particular, like the tax department, social insurance, labor department, is all done electronically, and they are moving further and further, deeper and deeper into the e-government. Now, of course, for licensing processes, you just have to visit the factories, the land where your factories would be, and those paperwork will still need to be done. But I do see a signal that the e-documentation is starting to be implemented gradually. And I do hope from the recent rounds of discussion at the National Assembly, we are all aware there's going to be new rounds or new enhancement for enterprise law and investment law. I do hope to see some e-commerce related, or what they call e-documentation, e-government related initiatives coming out from there, which will make things much easier for investors to operate here before they even come into Vietnam.
Mm-hmm. So for now, we continue to hope, right? And hopefully COVID is our answer to all these e-procedures. So David, from a service perspective, okay, what can we do to help industrial zones like Deep Sea to continue to gain traction while we are waiting for things to happen without having another webinar?
Yeah, sure. Bring on the seminars, even though this is a good webinar. Thank you. Look, you know, Collier's, myself, I've been operating in Vietnam for 15 years. The best way I can describe this is anybody who looking at industrial space, either to purchase back then or to now lease as well, will know that, you know, it's a mixed bag of operators in terms of industrial parks and quality out there. You know, 15 years ago, you would get in a bus, travel an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours out in the city to be greeted very nicely, but given a range of PDFs with different languages on a 2-page sheet, and then put in a minibus and driven around the site, and then another 2 hours return trip. I think things have moved on. As Chor mentioned, you know, we advise people on good marketing practice. If you're looking at getting an international client that's going to be your long-term partner for 50 years and invest a large sum of money, a 2-page PDF is not going to cut it anymore. You know, and in industrial transactions, as Chor mentioned, you're dealing with business impacts such as tax, zoning, legal, licensing. You know, and these, as the process progresses, and you're dealing with lawyers and people that are trying to get your business here in Vietnam, you know, a small mistake by one of those can cause big problems. We had this a couple of years ago, as you know, Winnie, where the industrial park didn't even know what zone they were in with the government, which impacts on, you know, employment rates, impacts in lots of other stuff. So it's really nice to see Deep Sea, a very good video. Obviously, people using drones. There are people with clear now descriptions about how this can interact with their taxes over time. You know, there's a lot more confidence in terms of the information that's out there by experienced developers, and this can help the transaction. So whether it be people not able to fly in, there are good consultants in the ground, and there are some really bad consultants, to be honest with you. You know, there are poor brokers that are just going to match off on land price and send you a PDF on the land and things like that. But it's a lot more complicated, and you need to know who's on the ground. They're going to give you good information, and the better that an industrial park can demonstrate what they're about, and the better it will be, and the more confidence you'll have, and the more clients you'll have.
Well, I think we are in very good company today for good advisors. You know, Lim said that he gave us 8 minutes of what he usually do in half a day. I'll usually do it in half a month to try to get a client to understand how to start a business in Vietnam. All right. So on a lighter note, okay, I'm going to go to Dodi for a minute. It's like, Dodi, the question is that's like, I would say some of the companies, some of the participants on this webinar from Hong Kong, they wanted to know how to access your service. And you can see that there has been questions on a chat box. They want your contact. I won't dare giving it out like that. So you need to tell people how to reach you to start with.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Winnie. And first of all, thank you for all your support. And HKTDC really, we do have a lot of free services to Hong Kong SMEs. So if you have business in Hong Kong and you really need help from us for developing business overseas or locally in Hong Kong or to mainland, so please let us know. And how to contact me, of course, is HKTDC website. So, and I am stationed in SME Center, HKTDC SME Center. You can try to search HKTDC SME Center, and then you can get a lot of information there. So you can send me emails, or I can leave my contact on the chat box, so you can reach me directly. I'm free to talk.
All right. Thank you, Dodi. Now we have. Thank you. We have received some questions in here, and one of that is asking about what the government is going to do. Now, since none of us work for the government here, I'm going to ask you guys to speculate a little bit. David, Lim, and Kuhn is like, what do you think our government can do to help with moving things forward? Next steps. Who want to give it a go first? I'm going to start with Lim. You happen to be, yeah, on the left-hand side of my screen. I'm going to start that way.
Let me take one item first before the item list runs out, and let Kun and David take the difficult jobs. I think we all hear that the government is putting 5% GDP growth as still the target for 2020. And in order to reach that target, there's definitely a very big need to have the domestic consumption recovering, and more importantly, the FDI. I'm talking about large-scale FDI need to come in, or at least be committed for the next 7-8 months, yeah, up to the end of the year. And with those FDI coming in, I think the GDP growth engine would continue to be running, yeah, and then reaching the 5%. So I do see a very big action for Colliers, for David, a very big action for premier industrial park like Deep Sea. Yeah.
All right. Since Lim said that the most difficult questions, we'll leave it for Kuhn. I'm going to go for David first. What do you think the government should do?
Yeah, thank you. Look, you know, again, I hate to come off sounding really positive, but I think the government clearly, by the way they're enacting, policies here in Vietnam, they're making improvements in infrastructure. They're getting foreign direct investment, and I think, you know, this is always going to increase and make it Vietnam a great place to be. I think one of the biggest hurdles is actually explaining how to bring a business in here, looking at the paperwork, what licenses and how much money does it cost, and how do you set up it, and so I think the government is streamlining that better. You can see that in 2012 under the law of enterprise, where they had 100% foreign ownership of companies. You can see it on the way they're trying to attract and speed up their processes with, as Shaw mentioned, in terms of tax and filing invoices online. So I think they're working on it, and they're working on it steadily, and I think it's happening. But like everything, Rome wasn't built in a day, so I think it takes a little bit of time.
All right, Kuhn, bring up the rear. Tell us, what do we think the government should do?
Well, I look at this for a mid-term to longer term perspective. I'm from Europe, and in Europe things take always a little bit longer. So that's why I have this long-term perspective as well. Well, I think overall the government should further invest in or heavily invest in infrastructure. There are still way too many bottlenecks in both roads and and sea freight transport. There is an underdeveloped railway network in Vietnam. Secondly, spend money on education of this huge amount of young people in Vietnam. I think the skills level need to go up. The industries that are coming to Vietnam are more demanding in terms of qualifications of the labor force. And thirdly, make sure that you know, the whole tax and legal system is transparent, stable, and trustworthy. That doesn't mean that it's not the case today, but that should for sure be the message that the Vietnam government is spreading around the globe.
Thank you, Kun. I hope our government is listening to our webinar, and I'm sure they have planned to make sure that we are ready for the rest of the world. Thank you very much, speakers, and thank you very much for the audience today. We are running out of time. There are a couple more specific questions that we have received, and we will get back to you privately. The recordings of today's webinar will be available in the participants' websites as well as the transcripts. A video will be available in about 48 hours time, and an email will be sent to you. Many of you has been asking for contacts of the speakers. We'll make that available in email. Thank you, Dodi. Thank you, Kun. Thank you, David. And thank you, Lim. And to all the participants on behalf of Hkbav and Deep Sea Industrial Zone, thank you for spending time with us. If there is a topic you'd like to hear from Hkbav, or if you're interested in being featured at our next webinar, yes, we are still doing it, then do reach out to us, and we would like to see if we can put together an interesting webinar for you. So see you soon again in person, and until we meet again, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.